many of you are familiar with this image here? Raise of hands. Okay, a few geeks. Okay, I need to increase the geek level here. This is a image that was taken from one of my absolutely favorite spacecrafts, Voyager 1. And if you can see that little tiny blue speck of a pixel up there, that's Earth as seen from about 4 billion miles away. So that's where you can find me if you need me. But the reason why I love images like these so much is because it shows us how space exploration often changes our view of ourselves and our place in the universe. But similarly, I think we should change how we view space exploration. And that's what a lot of my work focuses on. I often call it hacking space exploration, but it should really be called hacking space observation. Because that's really the relationship that most of us have with space exploration. We're often observing astronauts or government agencies exploring on behalf of us, but we ourselves aren't doing much exploring. And this relates to my own personal story of how I got started in space exploration. I actually don't have a formal background in science. I went to school for graphic design. I attended an art school. I worked at an advertising agency for a number of years. But back in 2008, I was watching this great documentary called When We Left Earth. And it was this amazing documentary about NASA during the early days and how they were trying to figure out how to send people into space. And I became so incredibly inspired by this documentary that I decided to randomly send someone at NASA an email, someone I had never met, saying that I was a huge fan of what they were doing, and if they ever needed someone like me, that I was around. It was definitely a geeky fangirl moment, and I didn't expect to hear back. But serendipitously, I was able to get a job at NASA from that email, and it completely changed my life. So I wanted to share with all of you actually a clip from this documentary that might better explain why I found it so inspiring.
We knew nothing about rocketry, we knew nothing about spacecraft, we knew nothing about orbits.
I saw a lot of rockets launched. I'd say that somewhere between 30 and 40% of them failed. A lot of them came up off the pad and went the opposite direction. Some of them got halfway off the pad and blew up. Some of them got to 10,000 feet and turned the other way and blew up.
The whole thing crumbled and blew up. It looked like an atomic bomb went off almost over our heads.
We got a big kick out of watching the Mercury astronauts. It was great looking at their eyes.
We're looking at this thing and looking at each other and deciding we want to go back and talk to the engineers a little more before we go further.
That's what I absolutely loved about this documentary. It actually reminded me of this image here. NASA during the early days, they didn't know space exploration yet. They were figuring it out as they went along. And so when I saw this documentary, I said to myself, well, I don't know anything about space exploration. I want to work at NASA. That sounds amazing. And so I got that chance, and it really changed my perspective of NASA from being rocket scientists to more like being space hackers, that they weren't like these people that knew everything. They were people hacking things and people figuring it out as they went along. And so I got to work at NASA, and it was like getting paid to go to school. I got to learn about dark matter and robots and all different things. But one of the most important things I ended up learning while I worked at NASA was that actually I didn't even need to work at NASA to explore space. And so I left. And I created Spacehack.org, which is a directory of ways to participate in space exploration. So this is anything people can do with or without a formal science background to actively contribute to space exploration and scientific discovery. So anything from discovering galaxies to building Mars rovers and the like. So some of the projects on Spacehack.org are ones like this one. This is the Austrian Space Forum, which is an organization that's trying to generate research that could help people one day go to Mars. They don't talk about who might get to Mars first or anything like that. What they want to do is they want to actually generate a mountain of research that might help people when we hopefully one day go to Mars. And so actually what you can see in this image here is you can see someone's actually digging through an ice cave in Austria to try and look for different signs of life. The thing that's cool about the Austrian Space Forum, though, is that they want volunteers from all different disciplines, from all different places around the world to sort of help generate more research. So you could be a lawyer, you could be a writer, you could be a social media specialist, what have you. They want and need people from all different sorts of disciplines to sort of help them generate all this research and to do a lot of exploratory science. Another project on spacehack.org, which is quite fun, is Galaxy Zoo Radio. And Galaxy Zoo Radio is an online website where you can go in and you can look for black holes. And you might actually be able to discover black holes through it, which is incredibly exciting in and of itself, other than that noise as well. Very exciting. But yeah, you can go in and you can classify all these different images and you can look for black holes. But what's really cool is that if you actually discover a black hole or anything else through this site, your name actually goes onto a scientific paper. So you're not just doing work that some scientist is going to take credit for, you're actually doing work that gets accredited to you. Another cool project is NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts, also known as NIAC. And I'm on the external council for NIAC. And NIAC is, to me, the coolest program at NASA. And this is because they fund the more science fiction, out there, futuristic, yet credible research that could actually transform future space missions. So the types of projects that they fund are ones like this, which is the Comet Hitchhiker project, which is a concept for a space probe utilizing a comet as a propulsion source. When I had first heard about the Comet Hitchhiker, I was like, well, we've already got a really awesome space probe at a comet, Rosetta. It's amazing. Why do we need another? But this one isn't about going to a comet and landing on it. It's actually about going to a comet, harpooning into it, and then reeling out a huge, incredibly long reel, and actually harvesting the kinetic energy from a comet to explore the solar system twice as fast as any of our current space probes. So just before we were showing the image of Pluto, it took about almost 10 years or so to reach Pluto. But with the Comet Hitchhiker concept, it estimates that it could actually reach Pluto in more like 5.5 years, which is pretty amazing. So the thing that I really love about space exploration in general, and science for that matter, is really how it's the exploration of the unknown. You see this in science fiction, but also in reality. And sort of born out of this love of exploring the unknown came an event called Science Hack Day. And Science Hack Day is a 48-hour event in which scientists, designers, developers, and people from all different types of backgrounds get together in the same physical space to see what they can rapidly prototype with science in 24 consecutive hours. The mission of Science Hack Day is just to get excited and make things with science. These can be silly things, they can be serious things, it doesn't matter. So I lead the organization for the Science Hack Day in San Francisco, but I also help people create Science Hack Days around the world. So last year I traveled to Medellin in Colombia, to Shanghai in China, and to Antananarivo in Madagascar. But it's important to note, there is actually a Science Hack Day already in Dublin, and it's incredibly awesome. Actually, the next Science Hack Day in Dublin is happening in November. David, who leads the organization for Science Hack Day, is here in the crowd somewhere. I don't know if he wants to raise his hand and embarrass himself. I will probably, he doesn't want to do that. But anyway, you can go to sciencehackdaydublin.com and actually sign up to attend Science Hack Day here in Dublin, which is pretty exciting. So the thing that I love so much about Science Hack Day is that it reminds me of this quote from John Peel, that at the heart of anything good, there should be a kernel of something undefinable. And if you can define it or claim to be able to define it, then in a sense you've missed the point. So some of the undefinable things that have come out of Science Hack Day have been things like this. This is essentially a typeface that someone wanted to create in which all of the letters would have equal wind drag. I don't know why, they just wanted to. So what you're actually looking here is a makeshift wind tunnel, and someone actually, between two pieces of wood and a fan, they made a makeshift wind tunnel, and then they recorded the wind drag of each individual letter, and then weighted each individual letter so that all the letters would have equal wind drag. So if you need a typeface in which all the letters have equal wind drag, it looks something like this. I have no idea, as I said, how this is useful or meaningful, but this was a physicist who was playing with typography, which is something that I love. Another undefinable hack to come out of Science Hack Day is this one. This was a prototype for a lamp that would light up every time an asteroid passed by the Earth, which so it was sort of like a near-death lamp. It would go off, and you could dive under your desk and freak out all of your coworkers. It was quite fun, and asteroids pass by the Earth actually fairly regularly. So yeah, you could freak out people often. Another hack that came out more recently that I loved was the satellite Symphony. And this was a website that you can go into, and you can actually type in any location around the Earth, and it'll tell you what satellites are currently overhead. But the thing that's cool about it is that it actually puts those satellites to music. So based on their velocity and how close they are and other factors, it puts them to music. And so what I love about this is that when you're at school or at home or at work, you often get a sense of how congested the traffic is outside. You get a sense of whether the traffic is congested or quiet, but you don't really have that sense really for stuff that's overhead. You don't have a sense of how congested it is over your head at any given time or not. And so this is sort of what Satellite Symphony does. But my all-time favorite hack from Science Hack Day is the beard detector. Essentially, someone wanted to create a device that would detect when he needed to shave. And so what this person did is he took a USB microscope, like the one you can see here, and he held it up to his face, and he got this really gross image of all the stubble on his face. I hope you all enjoyed lunch. But he wrote some basic code and used an open computer vision library and was able to generate this. If you can see, it says, no beard found, no beard found. It's trying to draw lines around the stubble on his beard and detect when he needs to shave. So as you can probably tell, when I first saw this, I thought it was amusing, but I wasn't quite sure what it had to do with science. But as I said, we leave Science Hack Day kind of openly chaotic on purpose. But sitting in the audience and seeing this hack demoed was a particle physicist. And when the particle physicist saw this hack demoed, he said to himself, wow, it's actually a genius way for how to detect cosmic rays in a cloud chamber, which sounds ridiculous until you see what cosmic rays in a cloud chamber looks like. And so actually following Science Hack Day, this particle physicist wrote up an entire proposal and research plan about how to detect cosmic rays in a cloud chamber using the original code and open computer vision library someone used to detect if they needed to shave or not. And this is what I love so much about hacking science and hacking space exploration. It's really about creating sparks for future ideas and future creative collisions. And so to me, when it comes to space exploration, there's a lot that you could be searching for. You could be searching for exoplanets or extraterrestrials, but to me, it's the search for experimentation that's so incredibly precious. And I think we've found it through hacking science and hacking space exploration.